So, as promised in my last video, I said I would do a video going through the 9-mark questions. So, our first 9-mark question says, evaluate the extent to which the redistribution of blood flow is necessary during a hockey match. And as you can see from my answer, I've highlighted it in 3 different colours. So, blue is AO1, yellow is AO2, and red is AO3. AO1 is simply just stating your knowledge, so defining something. AO2 is more explaining something or giving an example, and AO3 is your evaluation, so saying like a positive or a negative or something along those lines. So we know that evaluate means pros and cons, positives and negatives of something. So in the end, we're just going to have to evaluate that. So we're going to have to say the positives and negatives of redistribution of blood in a hockey match. So let's go through the answer. The redistribution of blood is also known as vascular shunting, which is where the blood is directed to different parts of the body depending on activity levels. There's one AO1 mark. During a hockey match, inactive areas would experience vasoconstriction to areas such as the digestive system. That's because the digestive system does not need as much blood because it's not obviously active, and we want as much blood going to the muscles as we can, so that would be AO2. Vasoconstriction is the narrowing of the diameter of the arteries, so less blood is carried through. So as we can see, that's a statement. We're defining what vasoconstriction is. The working muscles would experience vasodilation, which is the widening of the diameter of the arteries, which results in the muscles receiving more blood. Now we're going to explain why. So we're going to evaluate. So this is necessary because then the muscles can continue to work because they are receiving enough oxygen to keep up with demand. In a hockey match, the intensity of play will vary, so the redistribution of blood will be impacted. Redistribution of blood is important because during times of greater intensity, such as sprinting, more blood will be shunted to the muscles because the demand for oxygen is higher. So here we've identified that you would have to sprint in a hockey match, you would have to up your intensity to maybe get to the ball faster or beat your opposition. So then we've shown that we understand a bit about the game. Less intense play, such as jogging and walking, will require less blood to be shunted to the muscles and more to be shunted to areas such as the brain. The amount of blood being shunted to the heart will remain constant, and that's just because the blood always just needs the constant supply of oxygen in order to keep it pumping, otherwise we'll have a cardiac arrest or heart attack. So in conclusion, the redistribution of blood is very necessary in a hockey match because when the demand for oxygen increases, the body has to respond by shunting more blood to the working muscles to supply them with energy to work. Without redistribution of blood, the hockey player would not be able to compete in the match because his or her muscles will tire quickly because oxygen cannot be delivered fast enough when doing slightly more intense work. So here we've picked out that we've said what would happen, like why redistribution of blood is important, and then we've said what would happen without it. So that question would get you, if you gave that answer, it would get you 9 marks because you've included quite even amounts of AO3, AO2 and AO1. So on to our next question. Evaluate whether a 50-metre front crawl competitive swimmer should use a combination of interval training and weight training to improve their performance. So like the last question, I've done this colour-coded with blue, yellow and red highlighters. So first of all, we need to state what interval training is, which is sets of intense work followed by sets of rest or low-intensity work. And then we need to describe what would happen afterwards. So this means that the performer can have time to recover after the high-intensity work. Then we need to say, we could say another AO1 point that I've done. So interval training is usually associated with shorter anaerobic events, which are 50-metre front crawl races. So I've identified that I know that 50-metre front crawl is an anaerobic activity. It will need interval training that can help it. So you're just trying to try and put as much as your knowledge down at the start as you can, because that will guarantee you get the AO1 marks. And then interval training will help to improve the speed of the performer. So it's literally just stating down facts from my knowledge. Weight training is a form of interval training which involves reps and sets. It can be used to work on muscular endurance and strength. So a 50-metre front crawl swimmer would focus more on improving muscular strength rather than muscular endurance, as they want to improve their power and therefore speed through the water. So here we've really identified, so we know that weight training will improve both, either or, sorry, but then we can say which one a swimmer would want more on, and therefore they can target their training to specific muscles, so their training can be more focused. So overall, both training types are important, so that's our judgment. We're saying both are important. Interval training improves speed, so the swimmer can travel through the water quickly. It can also be used in the pool, which mimics the race environment. Weight training allows for a stronger start because power has been increased, and combined with the interval training, intensity will be kept high for the duration of the race. So here we're saying that one works with the other, so combining them together, they're more effective. So weight training would help with the push off into the pool, and then the interval training will allow you to keep a constant and sustain your energy levels and keep the intensity high. However, if the amount of weight training does not balance out the interval training, the performer may have too much body weight due to carrying too much muscle, and therefore the performer wouldn't be as fast. So weight training is all well and good. However, if you do too much weight training, you'll just build up too much muscle, and therefore you'll have excess weight it will be harder to swim, because if you know, carrying something heavy is much harder than carrying something light. So you need to think about other things. So that's a negative of weight training. In this answer, you could have also said something else that could help a swimmer more than these two. So you could have said plyometric training might be more useful because it would build up power in your legs, so it's faster. You can get a much powerful kicking action. So that's it for this video, because we've done both the 9 markers. I hope you found this quite useful, and I hope this has given you a better understanding of how to really structure your answer. So do an AO1 point, then an AO2 point, and then at the end try and overall evaluate the two things that you've been given. So thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.